Welcome to One Big Boat. We're all in this together. A show focused on people and organizations whose work is making a true difference in people's lives. Today, we welcome aboard Alexandria Johnson, the Executive Director of Newton at Home.
So the Village Movement actually this year is its 25th anniversary, started 25 years ago in Boston.
She's here to talk about what actually is the Village Movement and what are the benefits to seniors. That's next on One Big Boat. We're all in this together. So I was looking at your background, thanks to LinkedIn, and there's a lot of human rights in your life, helping others. And how does a person go from that to being the executive director of maybe a senior village project?
It has certainly been a wild ride, an interesting roller coaster. Sort of, I guess, two reasons. One is I had most of the work I had done had been on international or national projects, which is cool, which is really great. But I wanted to do something where I was able to see the impact I was making and know that I was actually making a difference in people's lives and really be boots on the ground. So I wanted to switch to something local. How I ended up in older adult services was really just sort of happenstance, and after caregiving for my own mom and just seeing how difficult it is for older adults to navigate that patchwork of resources that's out there, how difficult it is for their caregivers, especially family members, to really take on that responsibility and be able to provide so much for someone else. So when I was looking for a new gig and I stumbled across Newton at Home, it stuck out to me as something that seemed like a really wonderful place to work and a mission that I would really feel strongly about and wanted to get behind.
Yeah, anybody who's watching this knows you're young and I'm not. And so when I was reading this and it said, eligibility starts around 60.
Yes.
And I was thinking, 60. And I was thinking, wow, that's getting really close. But so how do people find out about this? And maybe we talk a little about the village movement that this is based around.
Yeah, so the Village Movement actually this year is its 25th anniversary, started 25 years ago in Boston. It is now spread all across the country, and actually there's some places elsewhere internationally that have started really kind of following the model as well. But there's about 400 villages, I think, at this point, and each one, they're all just small, independent, nonprofits, grassroots, started by volunteers. They all operate wildly differently, which is kind of interesting. It's fun talking to all the different village leaders and just seeing how different each one is. But they're all built on the same idea of helping people age in place to live, with dignity, independence through community support, and really just having volunteers provide what they can to help older people in their communities. It's called the Village Movement because it's trying to emulate the way that villages used to be, sort of the old world style of living, where you knew all your neighbors and you were really just helping people in your community to be able to live their best lives, to provide for people, to make sure that as people aged, they weren't pushed to the wayside of society, which is really what ends up happening in the US.
Yeah, I have a friend from Uruguay, and he was up here. And the whole idea of having elders live outside of the house is so foreign.
It's yes, very much so in a lot of places. I was actually at, in November, there was a conference in Boston that was a big sort of global aging services conference. And I talked to so many people there who were just from elsewhere around the world, kind of explaining who we are and what we do and what the Village Movement is. And it was interesting seeing how many people were just baffled at the idea that, your government doesn't just provide these services for you, or this isn't really just a part of the culture here. You have to actually have, an organization, be built to be able to do these things for people. So it's, everywhere you go in the world it's very, very different. But we're really just trying to fill a gap that very much exists here.
Yeah. How do people find out about you?
That's a good question. A lot of it at this point, I would say for us specifically, is word of mouth. But we do a lot of community outreach. We've been building partnerships with other organizations, so we get a lot of referrals from just kind of different community partners throughout Newton and really the surrounding towns. Even though we only at this point serve older adults in Newton, we're on social media. We do digital marketing. We post flyers around the city. We also just try to encourage people to come to whatever public events we have so if anybody's interested in maybe volunteering with us, or if they think they might want to join, or they have a family member who might want to join, it's an avenue to kind of get a feel for who we are and what we do, and see if it's something that they want to explore more.
Yeah, as a production company here at Last Minute, we actually work with a place called Heritage, Havenwood Heritage Heights up in Concord, New Hampshire. Now, I grew up in New Hampshire, and my dad died, and a couple of years later, my mom, it just was like the house was too much for her. And so they became a client. And I remember them saying the big pitch is they're not just doing it for them, they're doing it for their children. And I know everybody has to make their own decision, but in some ways, what you guys provide, and we should go in, we'll start to go into that now, really takes some of the pressure off children.
It does. And that's, I think, for me, something that I'm especially passionate about with the work. But everybody on our staff, we have a small staff, but all 5 of us, I think, and most of the volunteers that I've talked to, we've all ended up at Newton at Home after caregiving for someone in our family and having that firsthand experience. And it is really meaningful to be able to take, some of that pressure off. Caregiving is really, really hard, and it's demanding and exhausting. And if you work full time, or you have kids, or just it's a difficult thing, and it puts a lot of strain on the relationship too that parents have with their kids. So it's really wonderful for us to be able to not only take a little bit of stress off of the shoulders of family members, but to be able to help ensure that relationship goes back to normal, that when a parent and child are spending time together, they can just catch up, hang out, grab a cup of coffee, go do something fun. It's not about having to do a bunch of tasks for their parent and really feel like they're providing a service rather than just trying to spend quality time.
So when we do say village movement, Newton is a city of 13 villages.
Yes. It's a bit confusing.
But Newton is just your village.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it is. It's weird being in Newton, where we are kind of known as, we have these little villages. But our village, Newton at Home, is just for anything within the borders of Newton at this point. So there are other villages in the greater Boston area that serve other communities. And I think most of them are a bit more focused on the social program side of things. We're a bit unique, really among villages in general, from all the ones I've spoken to, in that we are very, very services heavy. So like transportation, help with handiwork around the house, tech assistance, friendly visits, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, and transportation seems very important.
Yes, that is a major need. And there's some public transit in Newton. There's not a lot, and it's not great. And as you're older, it's difficult. I mean, I think if you live in an area where you can just kind of step out your door and it's, hop, skip, and a jump to the T station, that's one thing. But we're in a pretty suburban area where it's a long distance to, Riverside or the nearest bus stop. So people need to get, where they're going to get. And as people get older, they often stop driving, or they have mobility challenges, and that doesn't stop them from needing to go get groceries, go to the doctor's appointment, go out and have fun and spend time with friends, and do things that you want to do, and not be cooped up in your house and feel like you're really kind of trapped in a cage. So we're happy to be able to help provide for that and make sure that people can still live their lives to the fullest extent.
Yeah, especially in conditions like the winter we're having now, the less steps you have to take from your threshold to a door to a car is safer.
Yes, definitely. And we're lucky too that our volunteers really go the extra mile. So if somebody needs help getting from their home to the car, or if they're going to a doctor's appointment and they need a transport chair or someone to wait with them in the lobby, our people will do that. You're not going to get that with an Uber or a Lyft or anything like that.
And how about home support? Like, is there a threshold? Because my mind goes right to I need a new HVAC system or something like that, right? That it's probably not that big.
So for home support, well, in terms of what our volunteers themselves will do,
Mm-hmm.
it's all kind of the non-medical things. HVAC, you mean like handiworker type stuff?
No, I was
Like,
just thinking like a whole new heating system.
Oh yeah, no, that we would refer someone to.
Yeah.
So that is actually another service we provide if people do need something. We're a small organization. We know our people really well, so there's kind of a really strong level of trust that's built. So what ends up happening for our members is that if they need something and don't know where to get it, they call us, and if we can handle it, we will. Otherwise, we are the ones who do the legwork. We figure out, okay, we don't do the service. Who does do it? Who does it well? Let's talk to them. Let's vet it. Let's make sure that we're passing along a good recommendation, and we'll pass along referrals for our members and make sure that they're well taken care of. But for things inside the house, there are a lot that our volunteers will do. So if you need like minor home repairs, anything ranging from small stuff like changing light bulbs and smoke detector batteries to assembling furniture, switching out storm windows and doors, putting ACs in and out in the changes of seasons, help with like hanging paintings, fixing broken things, all that sort of stuff. Those things our people will do. We have programs for companionship. We have volunteers will do friendly visits on a weekly basis, spend time with our members,
Wellness
get
checks.
to know them. Yeah, well, it's kind of, but it's more about building friendships and really just having someone who you can talk to, who you can socialize with. I mean, there's sort of the innate health aspect, but really the core of the organization of what we try to do is build connection and prevent isolation and really just provide support through having those social links to neighbors in your community.
Yeah, like one of the things that happened during, I remember reading the story, it was in Newton. A lot of the bars and stuff, people who were single, like they would go to the bar, not just to get a drink or some meal, but somebody would say, hey, how are you doing? And how important that is to be noticed.
Yeah, and I think one lesson that everybody learned from the pandemic is social isolation is devastating for people's health, and especially for older adults who already are experiencing a lot of isolation just sort of intrinsically, just because of things like we mentioned, like losing mobility or losing access to driving, things like that. So whatever we can do to make sure that people are still connected as they're aging, they're still learning, they're still having fun, they're still doing things that just bring them joy and keep them just really a part of the community that they still belong to and that they were at one point really helped build.
Coming up.
So we do background checks for all of our volunteers. We train them, we have extensive conversations with them.
Hiring the right employees.
Boston, where historic charm meets modern luxury.
And the best part, wait until you see inside.
Where's the crossroads happen? Maybe where somebody shouldn't be in their home. Maybe they live in an old home, they've got a lot of steep stairs, those kind of things, before building codes and stuff like that. I mean, do you guys get in the middle of all that? Is that something that you'll bring in the child and talk?
That I would say, so where the crossroads is, I think that's very subjective, definitely on a case-by-case basis. And that's something where we would only get involved to a small extent, I think. So our organization, I realize it's kind of silly me saying this because I am younger, but with the exception of me, we are an organization by older adults for older adults. And it's really about empowering older people to age how they want on their terms. So we wouldn't ever want to make a decision for someone. But if it seems like someone is getting to the point where just if memories become a really big issue, or just it seems like they're not safe in their home, we might contact their family, or we would pass along to them, recommendations of resources that we think would be helpful. But we try not to really cross the line of being too invasive or making decisions for people. But I would say too, for things inside the home, like stairs being too steep or things like that, there are so many home accessibility modifications that you can do now that will really make it so people can stay in their homes for as long as humanly possible, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So some of whom are actually part of the chamber as well. So
for those out there thinking about this, one of the things that may go through their mind is, okay, so you have all these volunteers with accessibility to seniors and the scams and stuff like that happen. But what's your vetting process?
So we do background checks for all of our volunteers. We train them, we have extensive conversations with them. And we also make sure to keep all of our members in the know on things to look out for, things to be careful of, potential scams, potential frauds, and just really establishing boundaries for our volunteers and members on things that they shouldn't do, things that they should do. The activities that we do typically, I would say, tend to kind of help avoid a risk, because we're not dealing with finances, we're not really dealing with personal health. There isn't really private information that's necessarily being shared between members and volunteers, aside from just kind of very basic contact info. So, we have those sorts of fail-safes in place, but this is our 15th year that we're celebrating, and we haven't ever had any issues of that pop up so far. And I think a lot of that is just because the community we live in, we're really lucky to have really, really wonderful, compassionate people who want to be a part of the organization and who care. People haven't really come to us who seem to be, looking to, be predatory.
So, on a happier note, the social clubs. You guys got dining things, coffee hours, book groups, even Spanish conversation circles. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. We So I mentioned there's the services side, which we're probably better known for, but we're a social organization. So we have every month a calendar of events for members, volunteers to come together and just do a whole variety of things. So some of the things you mentioned, we have a bunch of member-led affinity groups. So we have 2 book clubs, a poetry club. We have the Spanish conversation group. We're actually in the process of trying to get an Italian conversation group going, which I'm personally very excited about. We do dining clubs. Actually, I think literally right now, our members and volunteers are out at one of our dining club outings. We do trips to museums, trips to the theater. We have speakers come in a variety of topics. So really just trying to offer, diverse, fun opportunities for people to engage, to experience new things, to meet others, to get out of their house. We also, though, have a lot of virtual and hybrid offerings for those who either can't or don't want to leave their homes. That way they can still feel like they're a part of something and connect and have some fun.
Area businesses, local businesses, do they partner with you? Discounts or anything like that?
So at this point, there isn't much in the way of discounts. We do have a fair amount of partnerships of just kind of a lot of mutual referrals, of joint programming, of kind of working on maybe some outside initiatives together to do things to help improve various areas of the community. But discounts is something I would like to explore. I think we used to at one point. We had some more volunteers who were working on kind of our vendor system. At this point, it's mostly staff doing all the back end stuff, and we are a tiny team. So there's only so much that we can do, but I would like to get that going again.
And there are times you guys go outside the village. You do have these excursions, these field trips.
Yes. Well, yeah, you don't want to keep it strictly in-house. We go into Boston, we go out to Concord, we go north. I love Newton, there's a lot you can do. There's only so much you can do for cultural events, and there's only so many museums or exhibits, and our people like to see new places, go to the theater, and go up the coast and grab a lobster roll. go out to garden in the woods or, to Concord Museum or things like that. So we try to get out and explore and have some fun and have some nice day trips and make a thing of it.
Yeah. In your role, have you been able to talk to many of the people with villagers and stuff? Have you gotten to know any? And is there like I just was asked to do a shoot of a gentleman in Boston who turned 107.
Wow.
And he fought in World War II. He was in D-Day, and there was just too many people there for his birthday party. But I would have loved to talk to him because he was totally, I mean, the only thing he had, he was a little hard of hearing, which I think he might want to be just to choose who he listens to or not. And he needed a cane to walk around. But other than that, he was all there. So do you have those stories? Do you have those opportunities?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's really awesome about being such a small organization is that, even in the director role, it's very, very hands-on. And before I took this role, I actually started as our member services coordinator. So I was the one who was handling all the incoming requests from members, talking to volunteers, making sure that, whatever members' needs were, they were being matched with someone who could help them out. So I already got to know a lot of our people really well, and I still do that. So anybody who's considering joining the organization, I do a home visit at their house. I spend time, I talk to them, get to know them, answer whatever questions they have. We feel it's really important to just have that personal connection, to have a face you can put to a name, because then it feels more like you're actually part of a community, more of a tangible thing, instead of just kind of this nameless, faceless entity. And a lot of our events are in the building where our office is, and we'll pop up to that, talk to members, talk to volunteers. So definitely have a lot of chances to get to know our people, which is great. The story about the 107-year-old gentleman kind of makes me think one of our actually members and volunteers, she recently wrote a book where she interviewed some women in our organization who just have some of the most incredible life stories. And I think this has been one of my biggest takeaways. It's been most fun about my role and getting to know all the people is just, they come from all walks of life. There's just so many interesting backgrounds. In this book, there were, two who lived through the Holocaust. There was one who, was just groundbreaking in, public global health. We have, women who just have done incredible things. Men have done incredible things, astrophysicists and artists, and really runs the gamut. And that's one of the things that I love about what I do is just the time that I get to spend talking to people, getting to know them. It's really enriching.
Yeah. So. Population's getting older. What
Yes.
pressures is that? It sounds like the village movement will move even bigger because there's only so many places people can go.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's a need. We're entering a very interesting, unique, I mean, frankly, I would argue exciting, period of time where there have never been so many people alive who are, so much older. And there's so many shifts that, kind of industry shifts that need to happen to be able to accommodate that. And looking kind of specifically at our neck of the woods, housing is a huge issue for everybody, certainly, but, older adult housing is a massive problem as well. There, isn't enough independent, senior housing. There certainly isn't enough, subsidized senior housing. And even, assisted living, the costs are really expensive. It's another part of the equation. There's just costs for everything are astronomical and going up everywhere. And community support, aging in place through community support is a really good solution for a lot of people that can help kind of negate some of the issues and, allow more people to be able to stay in their homes, if they don't need to go to an assisted living yet, if they have this other option to be able to live their lives, be taken care of. So that's been one thing that has been fun to talk to other villages around the country about, is just sort of seeing this shift where I think across the board we're all sort of getting a bit more recognition and awareness in the sort of global community. And it's just that the need is only going to increase, and we're excited to be in a position where we can actually help out in a meaningful way and provide this solution that is so simple and is interestingly kind of an ancient solution in a way. Like I said, we're kind of, hearkening back to the old world villages, and yet is weirdly like the innovative new solution to helping with aging.
Anything I missed? Anything? How do people find you?
So anybody who is, interested in joining, they can check out our website, they can call our office. Same with volunteers. I will say we are always looking for volunteers. All the services that we do are provided by volunteers, so they're really the backbone of the organization. We really depend on them. So if anybody is interested in helping out in their community, helping some older adults, getting to know some people, doing fun things, we would love to have their help. And there's no time commitment for volunteers. It is up to people's own schedules, however much they want to volunteer, however little. It's entirely based around them, so it's really flexible. And it's just a great way to give back and to really help out in a time, I think, where it's scary for a lot of people. There's a lot going on, a lot of, instability and turmoil, but in our neighborhoods and our communities, that's where we can make the most difference and help and make sure that we're making a positive impact. And our organization is a way to do that. And we're always looking for others who want to help out and share that goal.
And the website is?
Is www.newtonathome.org.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One Big Boat is a production of Last Minute Productions Incorporated. This episode was produced by me, Jay Dobeck. Ryan Macheski was the sound engineer. Jim Johnson provided production support. And Joanne Pilata is the production coordinator.